Hi, thank you for joining me today at the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo. I'm excited that you're joining me and then also Brandon. Let me introduce myself. My name is Drew Dasher, N1ER, and I'm joined today with Brandon Hess, Whiskey Lima 1 Bravo, and we're excited that you're able to come with us as we talk about engaging the future generation in amateur ham radio license testing. So just sit back, enjoy. This is going to be a great presentation where we get to just kind of share some of our knowledge about things that we've learned and things that Brandon has developed, and just the process that is used by the AARG group to give remote virtual ham radio licensing tests throughout the world. It's not just the United States, but it's actually all around the world. So with that being said, once again, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to let Brandon take it away.
And a very good hello to one and all. Let me introduce myself before going too farther into this. My name is Brandon Hess. My amateur radio call sign is Whiskey Lima 1 Bravo. Again, Whiskey Lima 1 Bravo is my call sign. I hail from the state of Alaska. My Canadian call when I'm across the border in Canada is Victor Alpha 6 India Lima Sierra. That's VA6 ILS. I am founder for the Aurora Amateur Radio Group based in Kodiak, Alaska, and also founder and chairman for the Aurora Amateur Radio Group's Volunteer Examiner Program, which is a remote testing service that we provide, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on during this presentation. So the purpose of this presentation that you guys are watching today is to really cover some of the fundamentals and the basics to getting the next generation of folks involved with being engaged in fully remote testing in various sorts and various ways. We're going to talk about a little history behind it, some of the requirements set forth by any VEC that is permitting it, and some various options that you guys have for administering the exams. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things that a lot of people have realized since March of 2020 is that the need for remote testing has certainly become more prevalent. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck the United States and things started shutting down in March of 2020, people were afraid to leave their homes. They were afraid to go out and travel places, and the need for administering exams remotely became very needed. It was a very much needed service, and in the beginning, the Anchorage Amateur Radio Club Volunteer Examiner Coordinator that I used to chair at one point in time, we were the first ones to publicly announce that we were doing remote testing online, which we announced that in February 2020, and then of course in the following month things started shutting down. So we were the first ones to start doing it, although shortly thereafter many groups began to pop up, and now fast forward to today, the availability of remote testing is absolutely incredible as far as the number of options you have to choose from, the different groups offering different times of the day, and just the ability for a person to take a test at a time that's convenient for them has really become a commodity in the last couple of years, and all largely thanks to a recent ruling that was issued by the FCC in 2014 and reaffirmed in April of 2020, assuring the public that remote testing was fully permissible. And so the caveat to this is when we talk about the ability to set up for a remote test, if you're an examinee and you're setting up for a remote test, what ends up happening is the technical requirements might seem a little stringent, but when you look at the requirements and you look at the amount of time it takes to set yourself up for a remote exam, as opposed to driving somewhere and waiting to do an in-person exam, you'll find yourself saving a lot of time. You'll find yourself a lot happier to do it from the comfort of the inside of your own home. And realistically, if you've got a computer with a decent internet connection, a working webcam, a web browser that's fully up to date, then really getting a remote exam is a relatively simple task. Making sure that you have the ability to do video conferencing, making sure that you've got the bandwidth for it are all imperative things. But like I said, the biggest thing is it doesn't take long to get set up. I mean, if you've got something like Zoom installed, which is what most people are using these days, and you've got a connection that's at least 5 to 7 megs down and a meg or two up, then there's no reason why you can't have meet the requirements for remote testing. So it's very easy to do. And again, the biggest caveat to it is you can test from anywhere. There's no there's no issue with testing from anywhere. You can do it literally anywhere in the world as long as you've got a reliable internet connection and you've got a way to connect to a video conference and you have a way to access the internet. You're golden. So a little bit of a history on this. Like I said a few moments ago, remote testing was authorized by the FCC in 2014 as a result of a petition that was submitted to the Commission in 2012 by the Anchorage Amateur Radio Club Volunteer Examiner Coordinator. They had petitioned the Commission at that time to authorize and permit the administration of examinations at distance or remotely, and in 2014 that became a reality by the releasing of DA 14-74, which is available on the FCC's website, and that document essentially opened up the authorization for remote testing, which up until 2020 was not a very common thing. And up until then, most remote testing that was done through the use of a vetted proctor, sending paper exams out to a village in Alaska, supervising the exam from start to finish over video. They mail everything back to the VEC. Everything's graded. It was really quite a strenuous process, but fast forward to now, and it's just changed dramatically. So one of the things that people have asked as far as getting set up for remote testing is, what are the requirements for the VEC? What does the VEC require for a group to be set up to administer remote exams? And what I can tell you, out of all the VECs that are allowing remote testing, each one of them has slightly different rules, policies, procedures, and a different way of doing things. While the rules are not standard across the board, which I believe they should be, what you'll find is, at a minimum, you need some video conferencing software. You need an exam platform to administer the test if you're doing it paperless and electronically, and you also need a minimum of 3 VEs who can administer and certify any results or any exam administered to an applicant, certify that applicant to a test that they qualify for the license that they took a test for. So, one of the things that people have talked about, what platforms are out there to use, and to date, the biggest platform that most everybody is using is a tool called Exam Tools. Their website is exam.tools. It is a modernized exam platform that has the capability of doing both in-person testing, remote testing, examinations electronically, as well as generating paper exams and everything that you need to administer a paper exam and grade the exam electronically. That happens to be a platform that is being used by, like I said, a majority of the VE groups and VE teams across the country. Also, there is another smaller platform that is used by a group of folks in California. I don't have the name of it, don't have any information on it, but I know that group has written their own exam platform, and they are using it for basically the same purpose. They're administering exams in person with it, and they're doing very well with it. Another platform that is currently out there that I happen to be the co-developer of is a platform called Ham Exam Gen. And if you go to hamexamgen.com, that is all one word, hamexamgen.com. When you load the web page, you will find a bunch of links of information to include a practice exam generator. All of that is found on the website. But what makes Ham Exam Gen different from most mainstream platforms, it's designed by default to operate one of two ways. It is designed to operate on the internet as a full-fledged web-based platform giving paperless and electronic examinations. And also Ham Exam Gen is designed to operate off-grid. And what the off-grid concept means, the platform is designed to operate on a Raspberry Pi as the web server, connected to any wireless access point through an Ethernet cable, and then everybody that's connected to the wireless access point with their laptop or other device is able to still get into the platform and take an exam anywhere without the need of an internet connection, and everything runs identically to how you would run it on the internet. So that's one of the biggest perks to Ham Exam Gen. Also, Ham Exam Gen is a platform that requires very little bandwidth. So if you're doing exams in person and you're wondering, well, what are the bandwidth requirements? To use exam.tools comfortably, you need a connection of at least 2 to 3 megs down just for the platform itself. Whereas with Ham Exam Gen, we can run the platform very comfortably on 28.8 kilobits per second and have no issues with loading any of the exams or running any facet within the platform. Ham Exam Gen, as far as disk space, overall, the entire platform takes up less than 10 megs. As a matter of fact, the latest revision to the user interface put the entire platform down to about 6.8 megs. So think about how many 3.5-inch floppies that fits on, and that gives you an idea as to how small the platform is, whereas exam.tools is into the several gigs. So there's a big difference between the two. Both platforms have a purpose. Both platforms do the job. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what platform you should use, or the decision is entirely yours. Each platform has its advantages and has their disadvantages. But from a technical perspective, if you're interested in learning more about our platform, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So the next thing that you have to take into consideration when doing remote testing is, well, coordinating volunteer examiners and setting up exam sessions. It realistically comes down to, well, if you've only got 3 or 4 people doing it and you're a small group, the questions you've got to ask yourself, well, what days of the week are we willing to do it? What times of the day are we willing to do it? And what would be the job of each volunteer examiner aside from administering the exam and monitoring the examinee to meet the requirements set forth by Part 97 of the Commission's rules. So all of that have to be taken into consideration. What I tell people is a successful remote exam session typically consists of at least 6 or more VEs on a call if you've got more than one applicant. So something to kind of gauge yourselves on. And, of course, we can talk a little bit more about that in the Q&A session. So the other thing that we talk about when it comes to remote testing and kind of getting people actively involved is, there comes a point where you have to eventually recruit folks to serve with you. This is certainly an unpaid labor of love, as I like to call it. And one of the things that we have to really focus on is who wants to serve, who wants to give back in a very unique way and use technology as well as a good, reliable internet connection and help people get into the amateur radio service while administering their exam within the comfort of their own home. So being able to recruit that special type of volunteer examiner for the purpose of being able to do a service like this is very important. Making sure you have the right people who are serving with you, who understand the implications of remote testing, have the technological wherewithal to do it. All of those have to be taken into consideration. So one of the things that I would like to talk about is a little bit of the service that we've done under the Aurora Amateur Radio Group's Volunteer Examiner Program. As I've mentioned before, at one time I ran the Anchorage Amateur Radio Club VEC as their chairman, and on December 1st, 2020, I had resigned my position and began doing remote testing on our own under the auspices of our club, which is the Aurora Amateur Radio Group. On December 2nd, 2020, we began our remote testing service, and we haven't stopped. We've administered exams to nearly 1,500 people. We've given exams on 5 of the 7 continents worldwide, and we have seen a lot of people and from all walks of life. So one of the first little stories we'll talk about is Yakutat, Alaska. We had a guy who queried us by filing an application to test with us, and when he applied, he indicated to us that he was in Southeast Alaska, and Yakutat technically is in Southeast Alaska. I say it's barely, but it is in Southeast Alaska. But he emailed us and let us know that he was wanting to test first technician and general, which he did, and passed them both. But one of his issues was he was very concerned about his satellite internet holding up. And one of the things that I told him through email conversation back and forth was, if run this program, and it's a program that allows you to find the fastest DNS server, and let's see how this turns out. So basically, he ran this program, got the fastest DNS server, and applied it into his HughesNet modem, had everything rebooted, and surprisingly, he came and tested with us, and despite the delays that we had, because HughesNet does come with a latency or a delay, we were able to give him his test without incident and without too many problems. When we tried to test a Zoom call with him before he did the DNS, I was very surprised that I got more than 90 seconds into a Zoom call, but within 2 minutes the call cut out and he was having issues with his internet. So we did a couple things with him, and so he was my first true satellite internet remote exam. Challenging to get everything up and running, but I would do one of those all over again if and when the time comes. So another group of people that we have had the opportunity to test, we have given exams to members of of the United States Armed Forces that are stationed overseas. Me being medically retired and a disabled United States Army veteran, I can personally attest to the willingness and the need for license testing for those who are active duty stationed abroad. We have had the opportunity to give exams to active duty military in Korea, Japan. We've given exams to people in Iraq, given exams to people in Germany, given exams to people in Kuwait, Qatar. And then the one that I will never forget was an applicant we had test with us. He was in Israel, and he was on TDY over there, taking his test with us at 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, he's taking it up on the upper floor of the building that he was in. And as you looked behind him, you could see clear into the city. He was right on the Palestinian border, and he was in the middle of taking his exam early in the morning over there, still dark, and he was in the middle of his technician exam, and we saw this huge flash of light way off in the distance, and then just a couple seconds later, we heard a very large explosion, and the guy that was testing spun his head around real quick to see what it was, and he thought nothing of it because he turned his head back around, got back to his computer screen, and finished his exam. And then come to find out, they had some bombings going on at the time that were very close to where he was sitting, and some of those flashes were less than a couple of miles away from him. So we were watching it on camera. It was a very tense moment for him, and startled some of my VEs. And I think it's something that a lot of us will never forget. So that was one of the interesting stories that we have had with our overseas military. And then last but not least, one of my ultimate favorites, when we talk about remote testing, we talk about being able to give exams to anyone, anywhere, and we truly mean that. And the reason why I say that is twice this year, and soon to be 3 times this year, we have had the dubious honor of giving remote exams on the continent of Antarctica. We have given exams at McMurdo Station. We had a young lady who worked as a weather observer for the National Science Foundation at McMurdo Station. She was down there. She tested with us for her tech in April of 2021. She was ended up getting stationed down there, and in May of 2022, she upgraded from tech to general, and she did it from McMurdo Station. I have to tell you, in setting that particular exam session up, it took almost 6.5 months of coordination to make sure, number one, she had the bandwidth to do it, number two, she had the time to do it, and number three, making sure that I had a team that could be on to the wee hours of the morning to do it. But she was my first one, and come to find out, they now have a continuous satellite internet connection down there, which helps tremendously when it comes to scheduling the exams. It means we don't have to worry about satellite pass schedules and that sort of thing, at least with that particular station. So it was a lot of fun giving that exam. That was our first remote exam session, and that was also the first time that a fully remote, fully paperless exam was given, and that was all done through the power and intuitiveness of our exam platform, Ham Exam Gen. So then the other time in Antarctica that we did, it was field day weekend of this year, and we gave exams to 12 applicants at the Amundsen Scott Station, which is literally at the geographic South Pole in Antarctica. That one was a lot more challenging, and the reason why I say that is that particular exam session required us to get a satellite pass schedule that was long enough to give exams to all 12 of those applicants. When we did the exam session, we had a 3-hour and 10-minute satellite pass from start to finish that we had to work with. We had 12 people testing, and we administered a total of 25 exams in that 3 hours and 10 minutes at the South Pole. It was wee hours Sunday morning, New Zealand time, which is the time zone they use at the South Pole. And then, of course, myself being in Alaska and VE scattered all over North America, we were able to pull it off for them and gave them, everybody that tested with us walked away with the CSCE. We actually had 2 people walk away having passed all 3 exams in one sitting, and we did all that in 3 hours and 10 minutes. It was quite a remarkable feat. We were very pleased with the results, and we've got another exam session coming up down there, so we're looking forward to it. And all that was done with the power of Ham Exam Gen, which has been an absolutely tremendous blessing for us, and the things we've been able to do with it have been phenomenal. So those are some of the stories that I wanted to pass along to you guys. You know, these are some of the things that you have the opportunity to experience doing remote testing. You get to meet people from all walks of life, and you get to really meet people literally on every corner of the globe. And so that those 2 sessions have given a whole new meaning to remote testing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So, you know, one of the things that I have been asked, what's the importance of electronic web-based remote testing? Why is it still important? Why is it important today, and why would it be important going into the future? You know, one of the things that the younger generation clings to, they cling to technology. They cling to a modern look and feel to how they do things. They cling to that stuff. They really latch onto it. And you know, when it comes to license testing, the days of a 12-year-old boy or a 10 or 12-year-old boy or a little girl taking a test with pencil and paper and filling in the bubbles, I think those days are essentially gone at this point. And why I say that is with the advent of technology that allows us to deliver an exam on any device anywhere, it opens up a whole new world of being able to use that technology, leverage that technology in our favor to ensure that the younger generation has the opportunity to get licensed using a means that, in my personal opinion, is more engaging from a visual look and feel than trying to sit down and do a paper exam. And from an organizational perspective, it has a tendency to eliminate a lot of the administrative burden between organizing paperwork and all that sort of thing. Just as a quick example, both platforms, Exam Tools and Ham Exam Gen, have the ability to export all your paperwork in one file in the form of a PDF document, so you don't have to organize anything anymore. Literally, it's all done for you. You just got to click a couple buttons and it's a done deal. It's very, very handy. So, bridging the gap between the folks of old who want something that they can easily use. So they want ease of use, they want simplicity, they want KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, as I like to call it. But they want the KISS method in doing these sorts of things. So being able to bring the younger folks on board who can train some of the older folks, and allowing something like a simple platform to bridge the gap is very important for license testing going forward. And I believe that given the right formula, remote testing, online testing, electronic paperless testing is truly going to become the way of the future. And I think we're already seeing it. We have been seeing it in the last 2 years, and I think the best is still yet to come. From another perspective, we have groups across the United States who are giving in-person exams, and they have been doing it the old-fashioned pencil and paper way. And I'm not sitting here to judge them. I will not judge them, because I myself have given thousands of exams pencil and paper. What we have that other platforms don't have, as far as Ham Exam Gen is concerned, is we have the opportunity, as I've mentioned before, to run a complete exam session off-grid, being able to integrate that 21st century technology and that same look and feel that you would have taking it remotely or over the internet in person, and being able to allow children who are young, who are computer illiterate, device literate, to be able to take an exam and have a modern interface, modern look and feel that's easy for them to correspond with, easy for them to use, and works very well for them, and is appealing visually as well. So being able to offer that going forward, I think a lot of teams across the country should look for something like that. They should have the opportunity to be able to offer in-person testing using something as simple as an off-grid exam platform capable of rendering a service like that without an internet connection, and that's the beautiful thing about it. So those are just a couple of things as far as the importance goes. All I can tell you is that I believe remote testing is here to stay. I believe that paperless web-based testing is here to stay. And I think as time progresses, you're going to see a tremendous push for even more modernization and more simplification of how exams are delivered, and the various means and methods to deliver those exams. I do expect that to continue evolving as technology improves. So I think it's all coming. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and thanks for flying to friendly skies of United. No, just kidding. Don't do that. Anyways, so the last thing I want to talk about this morning, or whatever time of day it happens to be, for those of you who are going to be watching this later, I want to talk a little bit about our volunteer examiner program. And I'm taking this opportunity as the founder for the Aurora Amateur Radio Group and the founder and chairman for the Aurora Amateur Radio Group Volunteer Examiner Program to kind of give the plug for what we do, for how we've been doing it to a lesser extent, and to give an open invitation. So our program, as I've said, was founded on December 2nd, 2020, as a result of me discontinuing or stepping down or resigning from my position as chairman for the Anchorage Amateur Radio Club VEC. I felt it was time for me to embark on a different in a different direction, and I've done that. When I started this, we had 9 VEs that originally were serving with us, and at one time we were close to 50 VEs on our roster. We're now down into the 30s, I believe, 35 or 36 on the roster as of this recording. But we do fully remote and proctored remote exams to anyone, anywhere that is willing to meet our requirements. What separates us from a lot of organizations, we are more than just an exam team. We are like a huge family. We treat each other like family. We afford each other the dignity and respect like family. And we do the same thing for our examinees. We treat them like family. And the testimonials page on our website clearly says it all. Start reading through it. I think you'd be very surprised at some of the comments people have left behind relating to the service that we provide. We are serving under the auspices now of the W4VEC. I have the dubious honor of being the first remote exam team under their volunteer examiner coordinator, and lots of remarkable things have been happening. So just a quick plug for us. We love what we do. We're very passionate about it. And if you are interested and you want to learn more and you want to serve with us, please feel free to visit our VE Programs website, which is auroraveprogram.org. Again, auroraveprogram.org. And as a closing remark, everything that I've talked about in today's presentation is available in the form of a PDF document that all of you should have access to. All the hyperlinks for all the things that we've talked about are all in there, and everything that you need to know to get set up, and everything you need to do to become successful should you want to do this on your own, or if you want to join a remote testing team that is truly committed to what we do and and focus on quality as opposed to quantity. You're more than welcome to join us, and we would love to have you. So with that, I want to personally thank each and every one of you for taking the time to listen to this presentation today. I'm sorry I didn't get to bore you with PowerPoint slides. I felt that was not justifiable given what I was going to be presenting to you, but I thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I truly appreciate it. And with that being said, I will pass it back over to Drew, and we'll open it up for questions. So again, thank you so much. And 7-3 from Whiskey Lima, 1 Bravo. Drew, take it away.
Thanks, Brandon. That was a great presentation. With that being said, that concludes everything that kind of Brandon and myself wanted to talk to you about. But at this point in time, we want to open it up for questions. So feel free at this point in time, if there's anything that you have questions about, whether it's about process or tools or anything, feel free to throw those out, and we're going to answer those questions at this time.